You've seen the headlines, right? AI is taking over 78% of the workforce. It sounds massive, almost unbelievable. But what if I told you the real story? Is what's happening behind that number? Because here's the thing, they aren't firing you with a pink slip anymore. They're just quietly deleting your job before you even know it's in danger. Let's follow the money and the code. Okay, so let's start with that big, splashy number, 78%. It comes from a recent McKinsey global survey, and it says that 78% of companies have now adopted AI into their business. Now, on the surface, that sounds fine, right? Just innovation, progress. But that's the official story. Because you have to ask yourself, what does adoption really mean? Does it just mean, using a chatbot to help with emails? Or is it something much, much bigger? The real story, the one that matters to you, is buried in the footnotes. And trust me, it changes everything. And this is where it gets really interesting. You've got McKinsey over here talking about 78% adoption, but then you have the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report giving us the other side of the coin. A full 41% of those same companies plan to reduce their workforce specifically because of this new tech. Think about that. Nearly half of all employers are openly saying, yeah, we're swapping humans for code. So what kind of code are we actually talking about here? Right, let's be super clear. We are not talking about ChatGPT writing a funny email for you. This is something else entirely. It's called Agentic AI, and it's the real game changer. See, unlike a simple chatbot that just sits there waiting for you to type something, an AI agent gets a goal. Say, find the best sales leads in the Northeast, and then it makes its own plan, and it executes it. It can browse the web, use different software, complete entire projects all by itself, without a human looking over its shoulder. Companies aren't just using AI anymore. They're building an army of autonomous digital workers. So if that's the weapon, let's go to the crime scene. We're going to look at 3 case files, 3 pieces of hard evidence that show exactly how this silent purge is happening right now, right under our noses. Case file number 1. Let's call it the customer service massacre. Look at the fintech company Klarna. Earlier this year, they launched a new AI assistant. In just 1 month, one single month, that AI did the work of 700 full-time human agents. 700. It handled 2.3 million conversations. And of course, the company's profits went way up. But what happened to those 700 people? And this is the key. There was no big press release announcing layoffs. There was no public drama. Their contracts, they just ended, and they were never rehired. Their jobs were just absorbed by the machine, silently and with brutal efficiency. Case file number 2, the entry-level freeze. Now, just look at this data. Job postings for junior-level coding and writing roles, they've absolutely plummeted. And why is that? It's because AI is the new junior employee. You see, if you're graduating from college right now, you're not just competing with other grads anymore. You're competing with a software license that's read every book ever written and never ever asks for a raise. The ladder has been pulled up from the very bottom rung. And our third case file, this one might be the sneakiest of all. The return to office trap. You've seen the headlines, right? Huge companies suddenly demanding everyone back to the office 5 days a week, no exceptions. Well, here's the hidden strategy. They know a certain number of their employees will just quit rather than give up remote work. It's a soft layoff, a way to cut headcount without actually firing anyone. And the crucial part? Once you're gone, they don't post your job online. They just quietly replace what you did with a license for an AI agent. So that brings us to the cover-up. I mean, if this is happening on such a massive scale, why isn't it the lead story on the evening news every single night? The answer isn't some grand conspiracy theory. It's actually a very clever and perfectly legal workaround. And here it is. It's a loophole in something called the WARN Act. See, in the United States, if a big company lays off 500 or more people at once, they have to file a public notice. It makes headlines, it's terrible PR, everyone talks about it. But what if they just fire 49 people every Friday for 10 weeks? No public notice required. It's the age of the micro layoff. And don't think for a second this is some fringe tactic. 51%. That is the projected percentage of all workforce reductions that are happening this way through these quiet, under-the-radar micro layoffs. It's a purge happening in slow motion, specifically designed so you won't see it. Okay, so the evidence is pretty overwhelming. And yeah, it's a bit grim. But look, ignoring it isn't going to make it go away. This wave is coming. So the real question isn't how do we stop it?
but how do we build the surfboard and learn to ride it? It's time to talk strategy.
So here's your action plan. 3 concrete steps to make yourself indispensable. First, audit your output. If your entire day is spent just creating digital stuff, spreadsheets, reports, lines of code, you're in the danger zone. You have to pivot to tasks that require high-stakes human judgment. Second, become the agent handler. Stop trying to do the task better than the AI. Learn how to command fleets of them. Learn automation tools. Because if you're the one building the system, you're the last person they can replace. And third, master the human premium. These are the skills AI is just terrible at. High-stakes negotiation, real crisis management, complex leadership. You need to rebrand yourself from someone who makes things to someone who solves messy human problems. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking. Hey, technology always creates new jobs. Just look at the Industrial Revolution. But here's why this time is fundamentally different. The Industrial Revolution replaced human muscle, which freed us up to move into cognitive work, brain work. This AI revolution, it's replacing that brain work. So the trillion-dollar question is, where do we move next? There isn't some super brain category of jobs just waiting for us. Plus, the speed is completely different. The shift from a farm to factory took a century. This is happening in a matter of months. So the takeaway here is stark, but it's clear. The era of the safe, predictable, middle-class corporate job, the one your parents might have had, is over. It's ending. That stability we all kind of took for granted is being replaced by something new and a lot more volatile. And that really brings us to a fundamental choice. In this new economy, you can be one of 2 things. You can be the employee, whose daily tasks can be copied and eventually just replaced by a software license. Or you can become the owner, the person who understands, operates, and controls the very tools that are doing the replacing. And look, this massive shift, it isn't going unnoticed by people in power. The government knows this is happening. In fact, they're quietly building a massive surveillance system to track all of it. So the final question I'll leave you with is this. Are you aware of something called Project Sentinel and the government's secret plan to monitor private AI? Because that is exactly what we'll be breaking down in our next explainer. Don't be the last to know.